Welcome back to the knit crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to learn how to do the stepping stripes pillow. This is actually the seed stitch. There are tutorials on our channel for learning how to do seed stitch if you'd like to use this particular idea for anything else that you would like to make. Now to make this seed stitch work, it has to be an odd number. So you see that it was cast on 47. It's so much easier if it's an odd number versus an even number. If it's an even number, it means that every second row has to be different, but if you make it odd, every row is exactly the same. So the seed stitch, how it works is that if there's a purl sitting here, then the next one on top will be knit. Okay, and then it will continue to opposite each other in order to give you the look. Now the changing of the colors, that is just standard changing colors, and we do have tutorials available on that. But today what I'm gonna just do is get you started on the stitch work itself, and then we have other tutorials for how to be able to make this idea in order to work. So it's just a pillow. You'll just have to sew things together once you're done. There's two faces, and I think it's gonna be quite a fun project. So let's begin to show you how to do this. So let's begin. Remember, we have slower tutorials available for beginners that are learning to knit. Okay, and we're going to put those onto knitting needles. So if you would like to do the pillow as is, you're gonna cast on 47. But if you'd like to do something different or change the size of your pillow, you can just cast on differently. So if, as long as you keep it an odd number, it'll work every time. So just going into the stitch, and let's put this into our hands, and we're gonna wrap the back needle and pull it forward. But before we put that back onto this one that I'm touching, you're just gonna twist it. Okay, and you want to do a total of either 47 or an odd number. So I'm gonna do 11 for me, just to keep it odd, just to show you how to do the stitch work for this. So we have tutorials available on how to change colors at the end of the rows, and you'll use that same concept for tutorial work in order to do so. Okay, so I don't need to actually show you how to do that because we have tutorials available for that. So once you get your two pillow faces together, you just insert the pillow frame and just sew around them and put them together. And you'll find that this particular yarn that we're using today, the Bernat Maker Home Dec, is actually really fun to work with. It slides in and off these needles like butter. Even for crocheters, it's really kind of wonderful to work with. So I got 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9. So this is 10. So I don't want an even number, I want an odd number. So I'm gonna go for 11. So go to the size that you want. I'll see you back here in just a moment. So because it's an odd number, you can start every row exactly the same way in order to get the seed stitch. If it's an even number, you can't. It just takes a little more effort to think about it. So what you're gonna do is that you're gonna go into the very first one and you're gonna do a knit stitch. So just coming in from behind and doing your knit stitch and sliding off. The next one will be a purl, so you gotta move that strand forward and going in and then purl. Okay, so this one requires you to keep moving that strands around as you go. So the next one is a knit, so you're gonna go back. So it's just opposite to what you're doing. So that was a knit, so the next one has to be a purl. So you're gonna see that you're gonna move your one hand a lot in order to move the stitches around, but the work looks really lovely once it's done. And this is called the seed stitch. So you're gonna come forward and purl. So because it's an odd number and we're gonna start off every row the same, it automatically will opposite each other every time. So the different stitches sit on top of each other. So for example, if there's a knit stitch down on one row, it's gonna be on top of it will be a purl, and it will give you that great look of the seed stitch. So you just continue to do opposite, going all the way to the end like so. Okay, so you've just done your knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, etc. I'll see you on the next row. So because it's an odd number, you're gonna start off exactly, so it's not really row 2, it's really row number 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 until you're done. So you're starting off with knit, and because you're starting off with knit, it's opposite to what was already in below when you did that. So it's gonna make it look opposite. So the next one is a purl, so you have to shift your yarn forward, and then the next one is a knit. You see that? And so it will reveal itself in just a few rows on what this is really looking like. It looks like that pillow, of course, but in front of you it just takes a few rows for you to be able to see how it's coming together, and it's actually kind of a neat stitch. I find that it's almost bulky in some way, like it seems like it wants to be wider, and I'm new to knitting, so I'm still learning how knitting stitches work with each other. So I noticed that this one seems to be more bulky. and that's not always a bad thing, right? So you're just coming to the end, and again I'm just knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl right to the end, and then knit that last one. So I wonder if we can see it. Now you can't really see it yet. It will reveal itself. Let's move to the next row. So next row, again, just starting off with knit. So it's the same row, and the next one is purl, and you're gonna probably start seeing this taking effect real soon, maybe this row. And you're noticing that the tension is gonna be loosening off as well. It's always tense right when you start a project. And I'm just continuing to go back and forth. So if you were to match everything exactly to what was in the row below, you'd have like rib stitches, but because you're doing opposite to what the row is below, you create the seed stitch. So this is what you have to do with this particular pillow. You just have to go back and forth like so until you get to the size that you want. You do 2 pillow faces, and then you're gonna put the pillows together, the faces, and before you sew up that final seam, make sure you insert your pillow form. And the pillow is a generous size. I believe it's 16 inches. It's perfect. So you can actually start seeing that the seed stitch is kind of working out. You'll see that it's when you turn it around as well. It doesn't look as organized, and that's what's kind of neat about the stitch, but once you get enough of these, it really does look fabulous, and you'll start to really see the seeds will start then becoming almost like a honeycomb shape as well. So this would be how you would create this stepping stripes pillow. When changing the colors, we have tutorials on available to do that, and you will change it before you start the next section, and just use the same technique in order to hide in your loose ends and etc. And we do have tutorials available on that, as I mentioned. So until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the Knit Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. This is how to do the seed stitch, and this is using the Stepping Strips pillow by Yarnspirations.com. Have a great day. We'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.